Hello. Time for a special World Book Day edition of The Creakers. So I hear that you're up to chapter 10, which is good, most exciting. The Creaker Trap. The plan was simple. Lucy needed to get down into the Wolleb and find the grown-ups, and to do that she needed to catch a creaker. It was going to be a bit like fishing. Norman had explained to her which was one of his favourite things to do with his dad, and Ella was the bait. It's perfect, said Norman. We'll make Ella wear your dad's pongy jacket. The creakers will sniff it out, see a little girl wearing it in the middle of your bedroom, think that Ella is you, and then try to snatch you. And when they do, that's when we'll trap them. Now, it's not very nice to use little girls as live bait to catch monsters, but if you do ever have to, then it's always best to use an annoying little sprog like Ella, just in case they do actually end up getting snatched. That way, at least you won't have to put up with them anymore. Don't worry, Norman added quickly, seeing that Lucy was looking uncertain about this plan. I'm about 87% confident that we'll catch a creaker before it gets anywhere near Ella. Norman and Lucy agreed that this was an acceptable risk in such extreme circumstances. And so they went straight back to Lucy's house to lay creaker traps. But to Lucy's surprise, her house wasn't quite as she'd left it. It's clean, she said, as she looked around at the mess-free house. The night before, she'd been too scared to tidy up. She just leapt into bed, leaving the house in a right state, but today it was spotless. How odd, Lucy said. The house was a complete pigsty yesterday. There was rubbish everywhere. I didn't clean it up, and no one else has been here except... She paused for a moment, and her eyes opened wide. The creakers! They both shouted at the same time. Norman shook his head. Wait a minute. Are you saying that the monsters under your bed, the ones that snatched away all the grown-ups and live in that creepy world beneath us, decided to have a quick spring clean before chasing you down that hole last night? Looks like it, Lucy said, shrugging. I wonder why, Norman pondered, scratching his neatly combed hair thoughtfully. What are you thinking? Asked Lucy, intrigued by Norman's pensive silence. Well, any half-decent scout knows that the best way to catch something is to work out what it wants. The creakers are coming back for your dad's disgusting coat, right? Yeah. You said you left the house like a complete dump. Yep. And when you came back, all the mess had gone. Right. So maybe, Norman thought for a moment, maybe that tells us something about these creakers. Maybe they love rubbish. What? Said Lucy, finding that a little weird. Think about it. You said yourself that the Wolleb was all disgusting and stinky. Well, maybe they take all our dirty, mucky stuff down there, Norman said. Lucy opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Sometimes that's how you realise that someone else is right. Let's make a creaker trap, Norman grinned. They spent the rest of the afternoon cobbling together the craftiest creaker trap they could think of. Lucy was pretty good at it, but Norman, with his scouting expertise, was amazing. He rolled out a large sheet of paper and drew a map of Lucy's room. This is only rough. If I'd had more time, I would have drawn a more accurate plan, Norman said apologetically. Norman, it looks amazing, said Lucy, staring at the incredibly detailed drawing spread out in front of her, on which Norman had written, Norman and Lucy's creaker trap plan in big letters. Here's a copy of the plan. Yeah. Together, they set to work collecting the most horrid, stinking leftovers from the back of Lucy's dad's rubbish truck. Norman showed Lucy how to lay out a trail of the rotten stuff leading from the shadows of her bed to the centre of her room. At the end of the trail, they marked an E with a piece of chalk. That would be Ella's spot. Next to it, Norman wrote a C for creaker, over which they hung Lucy's mum's extra large washing basket. That'll drop down and catch 'em, Norman explained, as he rigged the basket to a complicated pulley system of skipping ropes which wound round the room and unfinished inside Lucy's wardrobe. That's where you'll hide, ready to release the basket, he added. Where will you be? Asked Lucy. I'll wait on the bed, ready to jump on the basket once it lands on them, Norman said, sounding surprisingly brave. What are we going to do once we've got them? I'm going to make Ella sing to them until they tell me where they're keeping the grown-ups, Lucy said as they both laughed and admired their masterpiece. Somewhere in that laughter, Lucy realised she hadn't felt this happy since her dad left. Despite the grown-ups going missing, the sudden appearance of monsters in her back room and a backwards world existing beneath her bed, Norman had managed to make her laugh. She didn't know how it had happened, but at some point during the afternoon, she and Norman had become friends. Maybe it was because they were the only two people in Whiffington who knew about the Creakers. Well, apart from Ella, who sort of knew. It was their secret. After all, and nothing makes friendship stronger than a secret. The house was ready. The trap was set. Now they just needed to wait for the Creakers to return. Why do I have to wear this rotten thing? Ella whined as they sat her down in the middle of Lucy's room, right on the E marked on the floor. Oh, it just makes the ghost stories scarier, you know, the bad smell and all that, Norman lied. Yeah, it adds to the effect, Lucy added. Okay, said Ella uncertainly as the massive stinking coat swamped her shoulders, covered up her silky pink pyjamas. Norman and Lucy both had their dressing gowns on to hide their clothes underneath. Norman was wearing full scout uniform and Lucy was in her favourite pair of dungarees. So although they looked ready for a sleepover, they were fully prepared for adventure. Why is your room so messy? Ella said, looking around. Because Mum's not here to tidy it up, lied Lucy, feeling the butterflies fluttering in her tummy. She hated lying, even to Ella annoying. So where are they? Ella said, holding out her hands expectantly. Here you go, a full packet of marshmallows as requested, Lucy said, plonking the sweets into Ella's lap. Oh, goody, goody, nom, nom, said Ella, ripping over the packet at once and beginning to munch on them, picking out all her favourite pink ones. They switched off Lucy's bedroom light, huddled round Norman's torchlight, and spent the rest of the night sharing spooky stories, like the haunted treehouse, Night of the Living Dead Goldfish, and Norman's personal favourite, the campsite critters of Cold Creek. Those stories weren't scary at all, Ella whined. You two are rubbish. I thought we were going to tell really scary ones. You two are big scaredy cats. All of a sudden, a bell chimed from the church across the other side of Whiffington town, echoing through the darkness of the night outside Lucy's window. Oh, listen to that. It's midnight, Ella said, looking a little excited. That's right, Ella. And do you know what happens at midnight? Said Lucy. Norman's head turns back into a pumpkin? Ella giggled. No, it's when the Creakers come out, Lucy said. Ella fell silent and stopped chewing her mouthful of pink marshmallows. The what? Creakers. You have heard of the Creakers, haven't you? Said Norman. There they are telling the story to Ella. She's got her marshmallows, but she looks a little bit scared, doesn't she? Yeah, oh, Creakers, of course. Sure, I know all about the Creakers. I probably know more than both of you, actually, Ella replied. Lucy could tell she was fibbing, but maybe you could just remind me. Creakers are the things that hide under your bed, said Lucy. Creakers are the things that put nasty dreams inside your head, added Norman. I'm not scared of those silly things. It's just a story, lied Ella. That's what most children think, Ella. But there's only one way to be sure a Creaker doesn't get you in the night, Norman said, making his voice as spooky as he could, which wasn't very. What's that? Asked Ella. To stay up all night, Norman said. And not go to bed, added Lucy. Ella started to look a little uneasy, like she wanted to go back to telling the not-so-scary stories. Right, I'm off to sleep, said Norman chirpily, switching off his torch and climbing into Lucy's bed. Nighty-night. Wait, you're actually going to bed? What if a Creaker comes? Whined Ella. It's just a story, like you said, Norman yawned, rolling over and pulling the covers over his head. You know, I'm feeling sleepy too, said Lucy, climbing into the wardrobe which she'd lined with a duvet and pillow. She closed the door until she could just see Ella through a small crack. Are you both bonkers? Ella cried. If these creaky things creak out and you're both fast asleep, you'll both be goners. We've got to stay up all night. She huddled on the floor, keeping a careful eye on the shadows underneath the bed. Right on the spot, marked with an E. OK, we'll take it in turns. You take first watch, Ella, Lucy said, smiling to herself as she settled into her little snug inside the wardrobe. Even though she couldn't see him, she knew that Norman was smiling too. Their plan was working. For now. So, chapter 11 comes tomorrow. Sleep tight. Well, I'm hoping you're seeing this the next day, but don't have bad dreams about the creakers.